I am not content to just preach on Sunday morning and have Sunday services. I'm not content with that. I want to be at the epicenter of a revival before Jesus calls me home. Honor is a meta theme that runs all the way from Genesis to Revelation. God is very serious about honor. Dishonor is a boomerang. So we should be careful about how we throw out dishonor. It's that seed of imagination and hope that sends a signal to my spirit, man, of future possibilities that do not yet exist in my current circumstance. What was Jabez really praying for? My prayer is that you would walk out of this series emboldened, limitless, and believing for everything that God has for you. So the year is around 430 BC. The writer, according to tradition, is believed to be a man named Ezra, who was a priest like I am and a scribe responsible for copying letters of the Old Testament. He is credited for writing 1st and 2nd Chronicle and the book that bears his name, Ezra. He was a great man of God, also responsible for revival, the thing I've been praying for 18 years. I am not content to just preach on Sunday morning and have Sunday services. I'm not content with that. I want to be at the epicenter of a revival before Jesus calls me home. I want my life to count for something that is burning on the inside of my soul. 1st Chronicles is a historical document that is really the tracing of a lineage and the writing of a people to encourage them about where they came from, so they will remember that they are connected to something that is much bigger than them. He starts telling them this one was the father of so-and-so, a family tree that spanned 9 chapters. And in the middle of chapter 4, he makes this strange insert that seems like it's completely out of context. 1st Chronicles chapter 4 and verse 9, it says, now Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. Honor is a meta theme that runs all the way from Genesis to Revelation. God is very serious about honor. Honor attracts favor. When you are honorable, you will have equity. For if you work a job, you're under a boss. When you are an honorable person, you build equity with people in authority and people around you. Dishonor is a boomerang. So we should be careful about how we throw out dishonor. And his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bore him in pain. So she passed on the pain of a season or experience to her son by calling him Jabez, a name that means sorrow or one who causes pain. Between verse 9 and verse 10 is a baby born with a label and a baby born with a cursed name and a man who finds frustration in life. Verse 10, and Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. Your hand will be upon me or be with me, and that you would keep me from evils, that I may not cause pain. So God granted him what he requested. I just find it so encouraging that we have the record of God's response to a man's prayer. It gives me hope that God knows how to say yes to the things I'm crying out about. Sometimes, man, my own insecurities, my circumstances make me feel like, God, are you listening? I feel like my prayer is bouncing off the wall. Anybody ever felt that way? Yes, you have. So many of us, your whole life has been no and wait and maybe. The man crying out is in pain. He's frustrated. He's weary. He is fed up. And the Bible reminds me here that God is not indifferent to my pain, that he sees me when I'm frustrated, weary, and fed up. And those are the times we should be running to him. One of the most powerful words that will ever infect the heart of a human being is the strong, life-changing word called vision. Not what we see with the eyes in our head, but what we see with the eyes of our heart. Vision is that seed of imagination and hope that sends a signal to my spirit, man, of future possibilities that do not yet exist in my current circumstance. I get inspired by something I see or experience. Vision is born in my heart to go out and do something. I come into a relationship with somebody who's greater than me in stature, and now vision is born in my heart for something I didn't think of before. So sometimes vision is born from exposure. Sometimes we need to see to have vision. And then discipline becomes the project manager of inspiration. There is one other place that can give birth to vision so strong that when vision is born from this place, it almost grips you to the point that you can't even get away from it. And that is when vision is born from a place of deep burden or brokenness. One is moved to say things like, something must be done about this, or things cannot continue to stay this way. It's the frustration of a dysfunctional past that gives birth to vision for a more wholesome future. It's the frustration of a broken marriage or a broken relationship that gives vision or birth to vision for reconciliation and healing. I was abused by a man, and now I have vision to help women who's been struggling with abuse. It's that type of vision that you will live and die for when it's born from a deep place in your heart. You know, it's almost like how Rihanna said, you know what? They don't got enough foundation for women with melanin. Somebody got to do something about this. I'm going to make Fenty. And I'm going to make a product line from light skin to blue because I solved the problem. And I did not stop until I did something about it. That's vision. It's the deep tears I shed over this church that keep me up at night. The brokenness I see in the American church and bad gospel preaching and cotton candy ministry is that type of frustration in my soul that keeps me up at night praying, fighting through all hell and adversity to lead churches that are serious about the spread of the gospel and the multiplying of disciples and the sounding of the alarm before it is too late. And the Lord did not call us to just have services. He called us to spread the gospel and multiply disciples. His last command should be our first passions. That's my burden, that I want to die empty, everything being wrung out of me, and arrive in glory to see my Father who is there with an army of people behind me who heard the preaching of God's word, responded to the gospel. I said, Lord, I did not arrive here by myself. Look behind me. They've been dipped in the blood. And look at what Jabez cries out after that. He says, God bless me indeed. Verse 10, then he says, and Jabez called on the God of Israel, oh, that you would bless me indeed, and that you would enlarge my territory. We love the word enlarge. Because every time we hear the word enlarge, our humanistic feelings start welling up to say, I want more of fill in the blank. And ain't nothing wrong with any of that or some of that, because enlarge is synonymous with increase. But increase of what? I need to draw your attention to this word territory. Our minds naturally think of some kind of geographical boundary, but the word territory here is also translated as coast. It speaks of an expansion into new frontiers. Jabez, who lived in an agricultural society, could have very well been praying for a bigger field, more cattle, and more land. Very well, he could have been praying for that. But all of that would have been the byproduct of the root of his prayer. The root of his prayer was not for more land. It was not for more cattle. It was not for more sheep. That stuff just followed the root of his prayer. Because when we examine carefully the historical setting of the prayer and the people around him who are battling to rebuild their lives from a very traumatic season, when he's looking out at all of the devastation of his homeland, when we examine Jabez's brokenness, when we remember that he's a man of honor, when we consider the fact of what he's going through, when we know that he has been labeled with a cursed name that means he who causes pain, when we know that he's a man who's battling rejection, what was Jabez really praying for? Jabez was crying out to God and said, God, I want greater influence, watch this, greater opportunities. I want to make a greater impact.